Hey everyone, I'm back with another video. I've been hyped for GodSlap ever since it was announced by Charlie, and now it's finally out. Unfortunately, I haven't read it yet because I'm poor, I have no money. And ideally, I'd like to get my hands on the physical copies because the art looks absolutely stunning. I checked out the Instagram of the artist, and yeah, that man can draw. It looks fucking incredible. Everything he's made looks absolutely gorgeous. So for now, I'm just waiting for it to hit certain online platforms. But the team also released an animated version of like the first few pages, I think, like first 15 pages. The animation, I remember Charlie saying that for the book, the comic, they went for like the mix between Western art style, comic art style, and manga. They did a similar thing with the animated version. It looks like a good mix between anime animation and Western animation. There's only like one scene that looks like it's right out of an anime. They're super anime inspired with the smears and the techniques that they're using. But mostly for the other scenes, it just looks like a very good mix between Western animation and Eastern animation. So I guess I'll get right into the breakdown now. So right off the bat, you get to see the most impressive aspects about this clip of this video entirely. And that's not even the animation. While the animation is great, it's not the best thing about this. It is the background art and the compositing. Really the art direction as a whole. It's not just the background art. The way the background art is directed is also really amazing. So right here, you can see just how good the background art is. So what is background art? It is literally background art. You need painters for that purpose, and it's what most anime struggle with. Jujutsu Kaisen is a good example of a show that has really good animation because they have a lot of animators working there. But the other teams, particularly the compositing and the art direction teams, they couldn't catch up to the animators. And so the art direction in Jujutsu Kaisen is pretty shit. There are scenes where it's really good, like I think episode 9, the art direction is very good. But for the most part, Jujutsu Kaisen's art direction, it's not very good. And here, the art direction it's just fantastic. This hand-painted background just looks really stunning. And the textures they're using, the lighting and stuff, it's gorgeous. When you look at the neon sign over here, neon pink sign, it's radiating light. I don't know if that's a compositing effect or if that's just painted on, but it looks great. And this beam of light coming from the car, the beam of light everywhere, and the smoke, that is compositing. Compositing is, I've explained what compositing is in my Ufotables video, but I'll say it again. Compositing is everything that's done after painting. There's animation, then there's painting. After that comes compositing. So that's any bit of textures that you're acting, any bit of filters you're acting, maybe like film grain or something, and digital effects like Ufotable uses. That all comes under compositing. And the compositing and art direction here is fantastic. So now what is art direction? Art direction specifically, it's supposed to mean, at least in anime, it means directing the background. Anime's got multiple layers, right? There's the background, there's the foreground, there's maybe even a midground. The way these different elements interact is very important so that the whole scene looks harmonious. That's why compositing is so important. And for this video, I think they're using a mixture of 3D backgrounds. I don't remember seeing any 3D backgrounds, but I think there are 3D backgrounds maybe. But we'll get to see all of that because there's a making of this video too. I think Charlie linked it. I haven't watched it yet, so when I do watch it, I think it'll be cool to see what I get right about my background and what I get wrong. Here, the art direction is great, and you'll get to see that in the action segments because in action segments are supposed to be dynamic, right? And only those dynamic segments does the art direction truly matter. Because in a still image like this, yeah, it's painted and it looks gorgeous, but that's all there is to it. It's not interacting with the foreground in any special way. But that said, the compositing and art direction for this scene is already pretty good. And this is the first of many 2.5D looking scenes in this video. All these characters are 2D and they're layered in such a way that it's giving the illusion of depth. It's 2D animation, it's animation in general. Everything is an illusion, nothing is real. So to give an illusion of depth requires a lot of scale. So this here is completely flat. The distance between this guy and this guy is 0 because they are just 2D models layered on top of each other. Here you can see this area. This area is the super background. This is the background of the background, right? And this portion here, the entrance to it, it does not really have any depth, but it's given the illusion of depth because of the way it's painted. Then the layer on top of that is these two characters. They are the same layer. Then another layer on top of that is the stairs, and this guy is in that layer. And then these two girls, this girl having her own gravitational field because of that ass. What the fuck? I just noticed that, but that's a humongous ass. And then at the very foreground is this guy. And you can really see that here again. Remember before I said here there's no real depth? Now I'm confused. Maybe there's depth here? No. This is just one painted background, I think. But here, this is not one painted background. This is like multiple layered backgrounds. It's really fascinating the way they did this. So the panels here on top, the roof, I don't know what the fuck that is, but it's all individual 2D layers. So there's the ground here, and then these layers are just one on top of each other to give it a sense of depth. And it looks really good. It's executed really well. This is like classic, perfected 2.5D to give like a good deal of depth here. This is also heavily complemented by the focus, shift, and bokeh effects that they're using. Here, these characters, the two girls, they're in the foreground, and you can clearly see that because they're not blurred out, while everything in the background is blurred out. As we move forward in the frame, they get blurred out, and now the guard is totally visible, but the guard in the background is still blurred out, and the woman in the background is also blurred out. As we move forward, this guard starts to get blurred out, and the guard in the back, this guy, now he's not blurred at all. So the focus shift is really helping. It just makes it look like the viewer is moving through this artificial space that they've constructed here, and the 2D layering is just phenomenal. If you want another good example of like 2.5D animation, what was the game's name? Hollow Knight. The entire art style of Hollow Knight is 2.5D animation. If you played Hollow Knight, you know what I'm talking about. Hollow Knight is a very gorgeous looking game. Navigator disco segment, again, really good compositing here with these light beams coming out. It actually looks like a disco with the neon lights and shit. And you actually have to think about compositing that to make it look that way. I don't know why these women are wearing headphones in a disco. Do people do that? I've never been to like a disco bar or anything. Maybe they wear headphones. Maybe they're playing the same song in the headphones as the DJ is playing. I don't know. But now getting to the bar. Again, the compositing really shines here because these arms, these are 3D. I don't know if this entire space is 3D. Maybe. No, I don't think so. I think this is just 2D. It's just painted art. And all these three mechanical arms, they're done in CGI. Let me look at that again. Yeah. These three arms are definitely done in CGI. I don't know if this portion that the arms are attached to are also done in CGI. Maybe it is. Maybe it's used as like a transitioning element between this side, which is 2D, and this side, which is also 2D. It's just a painted background. And then this beam is CGI to which these arms are connected. That would be like a good way to transition between the 2D and 3D. I think that's what they're doing here. And again, you can see the light reflecting off of the CGI and stuff. It's really good compositing. And the way the CGI is composited with the 2D elements, it's just done phenomenally. Again, this scene is also super fascinating because of these screens. So in the screens, you can see like these crystal bird things, and they're CGI birds. So I guess the super background is like a CGI bird thingo, and on top of that is layers composited, 2D layers composited, and this DJ is like a layer, and in front of that DJ is a CGI element again. So maybe this layer of screen and this layer of screen is the same layer, and it's... Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how they're doing this actually. I think both the screens, the upper screen and the lower screen, are the same layer, and everything else comes in front of it, but the way it looks, it's made to look like this screen, the upper screen looks like it's behind the DJ, and this screen looks like it's obviously it's in front of the DJ. So yeah, it's done really well. Yeah, they're playing with perspective super well here. And the compositing with the rays of light, I said before, it's really good. The effects animation coming off the DJ's mouth, also pretty cool. I think those are some smears, maybe? Yeah. So like they're using multiples here. Again, all of these characters look like they're in different positions because of the way they're layered. And smack. This woman is super well animated, by the way. Yeah, like the movement of her hair, the way she's shaking her ass. And I think there's also boob jiggle. Yep, definite. Fantastic. A bit unrealistic with the way they're jiggling for the amount of movement that you get to see. But hey, boob jiggling is always great. Yeah, just a lot of movement over there. And here you can really tell that which characters are going to move and which characters are not going to move. Because these two characters in the background, they have way too much detail. They're not going to move. This guy in the foreground, he has barely any line work on his body at all. And so you know he's going to move. And he's the only one that does move. This lady here is staring into my soul. This just gives a very good idea about the space that they're in. And I can't tell which area is CGI and which area is not. These pillars all look like they're CGI, right? I think this whole first floor could be CGI, the background. There's so many layers of compositing here that it just makes it so hard to notice the CGI. It's just done phenomenally. I'm very excited to see the making of this video now, of the breakdown. Again, a lot of detail in these women here. Any character that does not move has a lot of detail, and even when they do move, they have a good amount of detail. Like here, the level of detail is fucking amazing. I don't know why this girl in the background is just holding her tits. I don't know if that's a thing. Like, do chicks just hold their tits and stand there? This guy, he looks phenomenal. Like the heavy black shadows. Heavy dark black shadows. Dark black. Nice. Heavy black shadows, they're like a prerequisite in American comic books. In manga, it's usually just cross-hatching for the shadows. So the spatial movement, it's not really animated. I think it's just... yeah, they're just playing with compositing. They're just playing with the... squishing the face, really. Squishing a still image is what they're doing here. They're not really animating his change of expression. This is fully animated though. So he expands and then they skip to this. It does give the illusion of explosion. It's done really well. And these effects in particular look great. These effects also come up later, and I think the reason it looks great because it's so fluidly animated. And there comes our main character. How did he blow that guy's body while he was... I don't know. I'm not going to ask questions. But this looks great. Like the light reflecting off his face, showing every single crevice detail looks gorgeous. And the light flickering in the background, you can see like the people hanging on the background here, the gods. A small detail I'm sure most people missed. You can only see that for like, yeah, you see it now, and it's gone. I think that's motion blur used there for the guns coming up. Yep, it is motion blur. Again, some really good effects animation here. I really like these ripples that are forming when the guns are being shot. Just looks really great. And then these CGI shell cases. Also pretty good. Effects animation, pure 2D effects. Really gorgeous smoke animation. And this guy's goggles, right? Yeah, they're also animated as he's moving forward. These are things that I don't think people would notice or even care about. Like the reflection on his glasses. It's animated and it looks really cool. But it's not something that you would notice. But when you think about it, an animator is drawing the shift in his goggles frame by frame. And that is very cool. And here again, just good compositing coming into play. Notice how notice these two guys in the background who are holding their guns. Their hands are moving slightly. And it's not really animated, it's just the layer being pulled around subtly. It's very similar to like dragging a PNG. When they're doing that, it just adds that much more realism to the scene. Because, yeah, you're holding a gun, there's going to be a little bit of motion, and it also increases the overall movement of the scene. Really cool smoke animation. And the way the smoke dissipates around him as he appears looks great. Fantastic blood effects. Again, gorgeous 2D effects animation. The effects in this whole scene, I think it's entirely 2D. I don't think they used any digital effects. Maybe there are some electricity elements and fire elements that are CGI, but for the good part of the video, it's mostly just hand-drawn effects animation and it looks gorgeous. Here, I don't think the blurring was necessary, but maybe it is. Like, I don't know much. And here you can get a sense of that good art direction that I was talking about. Notice how the background here is a still frame. But as he's moving forward here, now they're distorting the background to fit to the forward scene. And now the background has completely switched. This is no longer this background, but the way it transitions from that background to this speedline background is absolutely flawless. You can't even notice that they're switching backgrounds. Like this is one background, and now this is a completely different background, but you don't notice the switch between backgrounds because it just flows so fluidly, and that is just fantastic art direction. And can you really feel the power in the slaps? It's like fucking Wolverine's slaps. Wolverine is my favorite slapper, by the way. And these effects they just look like anime effects, really. Like the way it's smearing and warping. And really cool impact frames. I don't really think this counts as an impact frame because only his head is like an impact frame. But, I mean, that is an impact frame though, right? No, it just flashes to white. Flash into white, another technique very commonly used in anime to show impact. Or you could just use an impact frame also. but usually a mix of impact frame, a black background and a white background is used to show like an explosive power. And here, yeah, that's just gorgeous. It just looks absolutely stunning. That is just super fluid, and this just looks, the level of detail here is just staggering. It is really, really fucking good. And once he explodes to show his fucking ribcage, and everyone in the background also died. So I guess his slaps carry so much power that it has, not only has area of effect damage, it also like has range damage. So that's how he killed the guy earlier. Again, it's fantastic compositing. This scene is not animated, right? This scene is just layers moving independently. Yeah, like his hand is moving subtly. These guys are moving subtly, independent of each layer, and that's giving like an illusion of depth. Not illusion of depth, just giving an illusion of motion when there really isn't much motion, except for the effects, the blood effects. The blood effects are the only thing that is moving here. Like this scene, it's animated only because of the effects animation. Where does it start though? Here. Yeah, they're using the same drawings, using the same drawings from this scene onwards. And the only thing changing from that frame to everything else here is the effects. And this line work, this sketchy line work, it just looks so good. I just love this kind of line work. It's just so cool. Going from sketch pen style to like pencil style. It is so gorgeous. That is CGI bullets literally coming out of the screen. And yeah, again, layering done perfectly. This guy's out of the fucking panel. And then these people are just layered accordingly. This scene reminds me of a similar scene in Skynet. Again, just looks like moving manga panels instead of actual animation. But here it's better because there's also actual animation in here. Like you can see him, the main character, running from panel to panel. I don't know if the main character is inspired by Jax from Mortal Kombat, but he looks kind of similar. Yeah, this is just gorgeous. This is extremely well storyboarded, and the storyboards got across to the animator very well. So yeah, really fantastic all around. It's great art direction, great compositing, amazing storyboarding, and animation to make sure that the storyboards is just truly realized. Yeah, fantastic all around. And these are the flames that I'm talking about. They are hand-drawn flames. These are hand-drawn flames. So I think pretty much every effects that you see in this video, it's hand-drawn. And his pants, the wrinkles in his pants, the dark shadows, again, really comic booky. Even the smoke, I think, is hand-drawn. It most probably is. Again, this arms, mechanical arms, they're all CGI. Yeah, these arms in the background are also CGI. They're not even moving. Yeah, and the lighting really helps. Like, look at the light flickering, right? There's no light here, and this light is now up. So when this light is up, it's not only reflecting off of the 2D elements, it is also reflecting off of the CGI elements. Like this, right now there's no light. Right now there's a little bit of light, both on the body. You can see the corner here, and on the CGI. I'll go to the previous frame again. As you can see, there's a little bit of light now. In everything, this area is the background, and you can see the light reflecting off of the background. You can see the light reflecting off of the foreground, this hand-drawn model, and you can see the light reflecting off of the CGI background. And then there's high-intensity light, which is the next frame. Here, the light is at full effect, and again, the amount of light getting reflected off of this 2D model, the background, it all changes accordingly with the CGI model as well. So because the same intensity of light is being reflected from the 2D model, from the background, and from the CGI model itself, that is what makes the scene, every scene in this video, look so harmonious. It looks like everything belongs in the same universe, which is what they're supposed to do. This is what so many anime miss out on, because it's like the 3D has completely different physics compared to the 2D elements, and that's why it just doesn't look harmonious. Like sometimes the 2D characters, they will have shadows, but they're not casting their shadows on the CGI elements. But it's just an oversight. But here, even the lighting, it's perfectly reflecting off of all the elements, whether it's CGI, whether it's 2D. And that's what makes this so good. Even the glass is reflecting the light perfectly. It's so good. It's so well done. It looks like this guy is growling. I'll show it to you again. Look at his face. It looks like he's growling because of the lip movement and the brow. Yeah, a little bit of the brow coming down and the lip movement, it looks like the scene is animated because there's motion, but this scene is not animated. That is just a still image of the guy, and they're just using layering and compositing techniques to make it look like it's moving. There's movement going on here. Make it look like there's character acting when there's really no character acting. Yeah, it definitely works. And these are also 2D elements. Yeah. Like these jagged lines, classic 2D animation technique, animation technique. And yeah, it's actually animated. It's not some digital effects or anything, which is kind of funny because this is actual, like in universe, it's supposed to be digital, right? It's supposed to be in a camera and it's a recording that you're seeing. And it's like, it's camera footage that you're seeing, but the camera footage, the static effect is animated in 2D. So that's pretty cool. And there's lightning, boom, explosion, gorgeous explosion effects. And these effects are also really gorgeous. The electricity here, it's animated in ones. And these bubbles of light, also animated in ones. That's why it looks so fluid. So here again, they're making so much movement out of no movement. It looks like he's moving his head when he's really not moving his head. I mean, he is moving his head, but the head movement is not animated. It's just that his head is a separate layer compared to his body, and that layer is moving. So it looks like his head is moving. Yeah, it's just flawless execution, really. And this is the most anime-looking scene from this whole video. You can see these shadows with jagged lines, very anime-esque. And these smears, gorgeous smears. These look like Arifumi Imai smears. I don't know if they're actually inspired by Arifumi Imai, but some of the effects too, they look like it's Arifumi Imai inspired. You can really see the snappy timing here too. It's really good timing. Look at that. The power, you can feel it. This is the single best cut of animation. Yeah, this is the single best cut of animation in this whole video. This executed really well. Really snapping timing. And you can really sense the power coming out of his palm right there because of this electricity that's just exploding from his palm. It's fantastic. The animated shadows, again, the animated shadows remind me of Utapon. Yeah, it's really Utapon-esque animated shadows. And the smears, they're just super Arifumi Mai-esque. And again, smears, yeah, this is super smeary. Again, very Arifumi Mai-esque. And then boom, cubic debris. Not really Nakamura, not really Utapon cubes, right? It does have Utapon cubes timing. Maybe it is Nakamura inspired, but it's just cubic debris. And the artwork here is absolutely insane. I wonder who did this. Yeah, this is just fantastic artwork. It reminds me of that scene in One Punch Man, season 1. I think it's Deep Seeking versus, yeah, it's Deep Seeking versus Saitama. Very similar. Even it's contextually, it's very similar. Like in that case, Deep Seeking just gets one punch. In this case, this guy gets one slap. And these are impact frames. Just some classic looking impact frames. Look at that. So good. Really fucking good impact frame. Again, the electric power surging through his arm, just done so flawlessly. Here is when the animation begins. Everything before this is not really animated. Actually, the shadows on his face and the body, it is animated. Okay. But there's like a repetition of frames here. Except for the effects animation, the effects is fully animated. And the fire effects, it looks really cool. Like it's supposed to be like jet shooting in a particular direction, but it is also flowy. And that just gives it like a unique effect. It reminds me of Bahi JD's cut from Concrete Revolution. Again, very similar contextually, like fire coming out of his hand. And again, another very solid cut to end it off. The impact just completely deforming his head. And then his head explodes. And that is GodSlap. My favorite cut, again, being this one. Super well animated. So really, the most impressive aspect about it is still, for me, it's the background artwork, art direction in general. And the storyboards is great. And the compositing is also great. And the animation is also great. So it's basically everything that's great. Let's see here. Produced and directed by Alexander Sakowski. So yeah, from Sakowski Studios, I guess that's who he is. Lead character, artist, character layer. Background art by Paul. Is that Naing? Paul Nang. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but fantastic fucking background art. Unfortunately, I don't know who these animators are, or I should say, I don't know which animator animated which scene, because I'm very curious to see who animated this scene in particular. 3D visuals by Uon Visuals. So it's a separate studio that did the 3D visuals. That's great. Sound design is also pretty good. 3D assets by Curtis Keeble. So again, that's a member of this Uon Visuals studio. Music is also fucking fantastic. Dan Hennig. Again, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Oh, here we go. Compositing and storyboards by Alexander Okay, it is Alexander Sakowski. So he's not just the owner of this company, he's also like the guy leading by example. Fantastic fucking compositing and storyboards by Alexander Sakowski. Really well done. Sakowski animation. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Now let me look at the making of this. Okay, so here it is. Wait, what? Okay. So the background artwork was not even simply background artwork. They were using like a plain, this is CGI, right? I think this is CGI. They were using like a super plain CGI background as a reference for the background art. That is genius. I do think that this is CGI. And some of the elements have been completely painted over. Yeah. And then there's so much layers of paint added on top of each other. And then this layer of composite, like the final layer of compositing that's added. And now it's just completely transformed. You couldn't even tell that this started off as like a rough CGI background. That is super cool. I can't believe I didn't catch it. Of course I couldn't catch it because it's pretty much impossible to catch. And I love how they did that. So I didn't even have to make this fucking video about explanation or anything. They're just explaining it in the visual format because you can really see the different 2D layers here that is literally layered on top of each other. There's the super background here and all the characters just added in separate layers. That is so cool. Yeah, this is super cool. Everyone should make like a making of video like this. Look at that. They can just shift perspectives like that. Why? Why actually can they shift perspectives like that? Is there like a CGI component to this? No, there's like distortion in this woman. So it's like just a 2D that's getting bent out of shape. This is the thing in the TV. So yeah, I really want to see how they did this. Okay, so it is like a super background that's behind the DJ. So what about in front of the DJ? How did this come here? Okay. Fuck. They're not showing. God damn it. But this whole area is CGI then. Yeah, this whole area is also CGI. They painted a lot on top of that. Like the beam, the position of the beams, they're not really matching. Let me find the perfect pause timing. Yeah, like the beams are here, the beams are here. So I think they're just using the CGI for the reference and painting on top of it. They're not really modeling the entire area in space. It's like the pretty well animated scene with the boob jiggle. So it says rough, tie down, and final. So this is like the American equivalent of layout, Genga, and then the final product. So this is the layout, this is the Genga, the final product. Man, I love how they're doing this. I love how they're adding individual layers. That is so cool to see. I hope this is as interesting to you as it is for me, because to me this is just really interesting. It's super cool. Oh, that just looks like straight up high quality anime Genga. Animated by Linhan Ye. Ye or Yi, I don't know. Who animated this? Character animation by Bryn Keto. Is that your real name, man? Animated by, I can't see. I hope I can see who animated my favorite scene. Boom! You have been GodSlap. Animation by Andy Bao. Not gonna try saying that. Animation by Andy Bao. Really cool effects. Oh, they show every single stage here again. In the Genga thing. Yeah, no effects animation here. So the effects, here's the effects. So those effects are just added in the final product. Yeah. So it looks to be mostly Asian animators again. I'm assuming from the names. Boom, skull gone. Completely different style for the layout here. I wanted to see the Genga or the layout for the skull scenes. Damn it. Okay, here we go. Started off like this. Animated by Alex Sakowski. I wonder if he's related to Alexander Sakowski. That is animated by Alexander Sakowski. Alex is short for Alexander. Yeah. There's so much detail. So much painting detail added. And then at the very end there is composite. Boom. The compositing layer added. So good. Okay. Wait. Who animated this? Shading and coloring by Alexander Sakowski. Man, Alexander Sakowski really fucking talented. Cleanup by Linhani. Animated by? Rough by? Fuck, I can't see it. Fucking YouTube, man. I should have downloaded this. Jordan Rear. Again, are these real names? This is again a CGI space. Yeah, the background is CGI. Boom. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see the CGI here. But it is CGI. That is such a cool idea of using CGI for a rough background. Are you fucking kidding me? Did you skip the best scene? You skipped the best scene. Come on. But this is also really cool. And again, the different layers, like his palm, his forearm, his shoulder, and the rest of his body. Shown perfectly, yeah. His palm, forearm, shoulder, rest of his body. Attaching, and then just the effects animation on top of that. Those flame effects. Boom. Directed, produced, screenplay, and composited by Alexander Sakowski. Fucking insane. So I think Jordan Rear is probably the guy who animated this. But I don't know how much of it was done by Jordan Rear and how much by Lin Hanye, because cleanup can actually, like the person cleaning up. I'm assuming by cleanup they mean animation direction, and the animation director can really change a scene entirely from what it looked like earlier. So yeah, I wonder how much of that was done by Mr. Rear. I'm just gonna call him, forgot his first name. But this is really cool. Fantastic work by the staff. But yeah, Skynet is also really cool. Skynet is not as impressive as this is with action animation because it does not have much. But for the rest of the other elements, right? Background art, the compositing, and like that storyboards, awesome storyboards. It's all there in Skynet as well. And Skynet also tells you like a beautiful story. Check that out. But overall, fantastic work. And I want to see more from Sakowski Studios. Obviously, they have like a good schedule to work on it. They're not rushing this. If you were rushing this, you won't be able to make something of this level of quality. Granted, it's very short, but it's still really high quality. If they're making like an actual show, they might struggle because they're probably an indie studio from what I can tell. If they're not an indie studio, they would actually make big projects. But I really want to see them make a big project. I really want to see them succeed, because some of the techniques that they're using, like the background being a CGI model, and then just multiple layers of art and then compositing added on top of it to just completely hide the CGI. I think that's super cool. I don't know if anime studios are doing that, but it's super cool. It's a very good idea to come up with like complex spaces, because complex spaces, giving an area depth and stuff, it's really hard to do. But if you have like a base CGI layer, CGI model, then you know how you're supposed to paint, what the area looks like. You already have a vision instead of completely depending on your imagination. And if any one of you are watching this, please tell me who animated my favorite scene, like the one that looks like Arifumi, my smears and stuff. I really want to know who animated that scene. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, leave a like. If you did not like it, leave a dislike and tell me down in the comment section how we can improve. And tell me whatever the fuck you want in the comment section. That's what it's for. If you want to see more of this stuff, subscribe. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for the views.